Welcome back to part 3 of learning C++. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to start teaching you about flow control, and once I get through a couple of these, we'll do a little project. I'm going to open up our main.cpp again from the command line like we've kind of been doing, and here's where we left off last time. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all this. We don't need this, and I just want to show you some basic if-else. So the syntax of an if-else starts with an if and then parentheses of what you want to execute right before it potentially enters this block. And now I'm going to over-explain this so that you understand everything about what happens in this parentheses before potentially going into this block. It evaluates whatever is in these parentheses. If it evaluates to true, it goes into this block. If it evaluates to false, it skips past this block and goes on. And that's where the else comes in. So I will just say it executes whatever's in here, evaluates to true or false ultimately. But it's important to know that you can just put commands in here too. Like if I want to put a cout in here and have it say something, it will, as it executes this block, it'll just spit out this, to the console. So you can literally put in anything here. It's just a bit of code that it executes like that. But usually what you want to do is you want to put some kind of evaluation in here that decides whether it goes into the block or not. So you might have somewhere earlier in your code an integer, I'll just call it a thingy, and maybe it's equal to 10. And maybe it changes for some reason or another, and you want to check down further what it is. So you would say thingy. Now this equals is a comparison operator of an exact equality. The single one is an assignment. And now, like I said, this does just execute the code. So a really common error is to just put a plain old equals here and think that it's going to compare, but it's not comparing, it is assigning. So this will just be confused. This will always evaluate to true no matter what thingy was originally, even if it was 20 or 210. This would just assign it to 10 and then evaluate to true because, well, 0 is always false. Anything else is true. So no matter what this evaluates to, as long as it's not 0, it will be true. So that's just a common error there. But really what we might want to do is say if it's less than or equal to some certain thing, who knows what it could be depending on what we're doing. We'll do some real examples later. And you can use or to chain it with other things. So maybe you want some more ranges to consider, or greater than 500. So this would be a scenario where it would enter the block if it's less than or equal to 123, or if it's greater than 500, which means there's a dead range here of 124 to 499 where it would not enter the block. So that's just an example of how you control it. And maybe if it's in that dead range, you want to do something else. So you do an else if. What if it's exactly, I don't know, 255? And then you want to do something specific. So that would be a case there. And if it ends up being something else, you go to this. These do short circuit. So once it hits one of these, it stops executing the rest and skips over. So that's the basics of if-else. If you want to get further with this, you want to study these comparison operators. Less than, greater than, less than, equal, greater than, equal, equals, not equals. And then there's or, just two of those bars, and there's and. So those are the main things you can use, and you can chain them together as you need. Sometimes you'll see really giant checks that might span multiple lines. And you can use parentheses to section them off some. You can do stuff like this, or we'll check this full analysis here and see if that's true or false, and then do the and next. So you can kind of control the order too. This here would be, it would evaluate this one, see if it gets true or not. If this ends up being false, it's not even going to check over here, but if this ends up being true, then it keeps going with the and checks later. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.